Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Council of Elrond, the number one Lord of the Rings podcast. We're here in the flesh. You can see us live. You can see us on YouTube, not just in your ears, but now in your eyes. So we're back with another Rings of Power episode breakdown, and we're jumping into episode 2 from season 2, and things are really starting to heat up straight away, and we're very excited to get into that. But first, don't forget to be an absolute legend and hit all of those fancy buttons like subscribe and like and love and leave a comment and
poke on Facebook.
Yeah, give us a tickle. I don't know, whatever else they do. Give us a 5-star review, please. That would be great. And yeah, without further ado, we're going to jump straight into it, Dave. Episode 2 kicks off with the thing that it lacked in episode 1. The dwarves.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very, very cool. And if you remember, well, you probably don't. I'm going to jog your memory. So the very start of the episode, we get a view of the explosion of Mount Doom. Then it changes and transforms into a map. You might remember that because when we were watching it together, I shouted out, "Maps!" Like, you did a fist bump because I was so excited to see a map. I love the maps.
Yeah.
They're great. And they used them like at the start of season 1, and then they just kind of forgot about them. But I was like, "We're bringing them back.
And they didn't put it in the first episode, I don't think.
No. That's why I was like, that's what I'm saying. Episode 2, I was like, here we go. We're getting the maps. And they showed I didn't know what it was. It was like a black shadow going out from Mount Doom, but it seemed to turn out like those were like the tremors, I suppose, and the effects of the explosion, of the eruption from Mount Doom affecting the rest of Middle Earth. And that's what Narvi the dwarf tells us later. He says that it shook the bones of the earth, basically. And so that caused the tremors and the kind of the cave in Moria. But anyway, before we get there, we see this like beautiful landscape shots of mountains. And again, anytime you're going into a mountain, you gotta like circle around it in a helicopter a few times before they swerve around, and you get the first huge view of the main entrance into Moria. And there's these 2 huge stone dwarves carved into the rock, and they're looking down on the entrance. Yeah, and it's so awesome.
It's class, and this is the scene as well where we get to see how the light reflection or refraction or whatever goes into the caves.
That's so basically it looks almost kind of like this Egyptian temple kind of thing, or maybe like a maybe not Egyptian, more kind of like a Roman
or Greek, even like a little bit of.
There's
like
lots of columns,
pantheon.
Lots of columns, yeah. So
but it's quite cool, the way it's built out of the rock or built into the rock, I suppose, and it's just
so there's these 2 huge huge rock dwarves, and then in the middle there's this kind of like entrance with all these like stone columns, and then we zoom through them and we get into we get the full 3D Moria experience. Then when we go in, it's amazing.
Cool. VR experience. I liked it as well because we did get to see it in season 1. I think the first time we get to see Khazad-dûm, and you do see a couple of mirrors moving around, bouncing light. But we just kind of had to assume that, or we were like, oh, that's cool, like they put those, but you didn't really get to see them work. I liked how we went from almost like the sun's point of view into the window, bouncing off all of the mirrors. It was class, and it is cool to see how they actually bring light into a dark hole.
And again, we got to see. So we did get some like smaller and like more brief glimpses in season 1, but we got to see in season 1 like that's how they got light to their crops, and that's how they were able to actually grow things, which was really, really cool. But they gave us a new thing that we hadn't seen in season 1, which was like we got to see this new marketplace, which is really, really cool. And I never really kind of considered that before, that they'd just be living under the mountain as any other culture would be living.
Oh, like a city, like a regular city,
Yeah, you kind of always like, oh yeah, Moria, it's a complete city. But I never thought of just, I don't know, little things like that. A marketplace with the kind of the
little canopies kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was just, it looked like, I don't know, a little village.
You probably more so associate Moria and Khazad-dûm with like just halls and walls and military
rock
and
stone, like walls.
You probably
don't ceilings.
You don't think of like children running around playing.
I just didn't think of that many fabrics, I suppose, because you see lots of these kind of like loads of fabrics that you would see in a normal marketplace, where normally people are using those different fabrics and like tarps to shield themselves from the sun or from the rain or the weather in general. But like inside a mountain, I was like, sure, they wouldn't be doing any of that, but they do. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
I liked it.
And we get to see the tremor, and Disa kind of warns everyone. She shouts at everyone to brace themselves.
Second time in 2 episodes, somebody says like, "Hold on to something" or "Brace yourself."
Yeah, brace yourself. And but also as that camera is sweeping in, sorry to be jumping over back, but when the camera's, I forgot to mention it, the music.
Oh, right, Khazad-dûm.
Yes.
Khazad-dûm, yeah.
Just the dwarven.
Boom.
But again, it's kind of like the season 2 vibe, where it's just a little bit spruced up by Bear.
Boom.
So taking up a half step. So there's just that epic music, the epic scenery. Then we sweep into the actual Khazad-dûm, and we see it in all its glory. We get to see this little marketplace. Disa and Durin are there, and we get to see where they are and how their lives are going at the moment. And what's their situation currently, Dave?
They're quite skint at the moment. They can't afford...
They're slumming it.
They can't afford anything, so Durin, he picks up like a giant mushroom, and Disa's like, no, the small mushroom.
They're shopping for bargains, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're going to deals, and they're popping in, and I was a little bit like, come on, like, he is a prince, and she is whatever she is.
He's got to have some savings. He's got a backup savings account somewhere.
And he says that, and he was like, I am a prince. And I'm like, are you married a prince? And I'm like, yeah, like, what are they cutting costs for?
Yeah, surely he could just sell an odd shoe that he has lying around and get like hundreds of thousands.
But like, or I was just thinking, like, why does the prince have to pay for anything? Like, there's a lot of that. Like we talked about in the first. What did we talk about in the first episode where somebody? Oh yeah, where basically Elrond was kind of going against King Gil-galad, and you kind of get this feeling. We get this feeling throughout like the first 3 episodes where somebody is a king or a high ruler, but somebody else somebody disrespects them, and you kind of feel like that could be death penalty in most places, or like the king should just be allowed to walk around and take what he wants. He's the king. Why are they shopping in a marketplace?
Or you could get like sponsorship deals with someone or something. Adidas could be like, here, wear my shirt, and you can have it for free. He's a prince.
Loads of exposure down in the mountain.
But basically, that's it. They're going around. They're getting like half price stuff, 2 for 1. They actually mentioned later on in the episode that they're eating last year's bread, which is that's a massive fall from grace, I suppose, from his grace.
Did they explain why or what's?
Well, just he's been cut off. Daddy came and cut up his credit cards.
Is that what it is? Oh,
yeah, of course.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Did you not?
No, I was just
he's
like...
been disowned. Like, he's
I get he's been disowned, but again, this the whole timeline thing. I'm like, the last episode, he was disowned. I'm like, is he now a poor person?
I know. Like, in one day, he's like,
oh my god, now we have to shop for smaller mushrooms.
Probably still has mushrooms in the fridge.
Yeah, like
that and previous argument.
Jesus saying we're eating last year's bread. Why don't you eat the bread you bought 2 days ago before you were disowned?
I know, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just it's hard to follow sometimes when some aspects of the show seem like they're jumping years, like here, but some other aspects is like, oh, well, this is only a couple of days later. So
it is a bit, it is something that I would say the show needs to kind of get a handle on, because
the time,
just the timeline is kind of, and then like sometimes there could be a journey where it's like, oh, this journey takes years to complete, and then other times it's like, oh, I'm just going to go for a walk from Eregion to Khazad-dûm, and it's going to take me a couple hours and stuff. So
there is a bit of that in this season as well, where someone is invited somewhere and just rocks up in the next scene.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But anyway, we do get the ground tremors, and then this kind of earthquake or earth shake or whatever it is, and there's. The first thing that I thought that was weird was that this big huge rock comes down and like smashes this bridge, and it's pretty cool. The visuals are very, very good. But Durin just kind of like looks around and he has a little giggle. He's like, ah. And I was like, he's giggling. Maybe he's like, oh, we survived and we're safe. But I'm like, he should know there's probably massive amount of casualties. There's probably like hundreds of dwarves have been like,
but he's being bullied, so he doesn't care. He's probably like, there's probably a bunch of people that hurt me.
Screw those guys. They're probably the guys working the mine.
It was funny, like how as soon as they get up, he's like, it says Durin Chuckles right on.
Does it?
Yeah. It says Durin Chuckles on the actual.
Oh man.
On the thingy.
Yeah. So anyway, all the stuff falls, and as a result, there is a complete blackout, because all of their little windows that they've built where the light comes in, and then they mirror that off everywhere to make the whole place really bright. Those initial windows get blocked off, and so they're now in darkness, and they're going to have to light some lamps and live by firelight.
Yeah, and quick question again.
I'm scared of the dark.
So, like, for people that don't know, we watched the first episode twice, and for the second episode, Johnny did the review, so he watched it twice. I've only seen it once, so some of this stuff is kind of new to me. For example, the tremors from Mount Doom. So are we saying so Mount Doom erupted and then the tremors came from that, and that's what's causing this?
Yeah.
So that happened last season, and so we're saying, did it take a whole 2 or 3 years for the tremors to reach the mountain?
Do you think this is a 2-year?
No, I'm just saying, because it seems like Durin is poor now, and but Mount Doom just erupted.
Yeah, I know.
So
but the thing is, maybe maybe he's a prince. He's been living all of his life in a palace. He's never thought, I need to get some reserves and put some money away, because he's just I'm a prince. I'm always going to have it. Suddenly he gets banned and kicked out of the palace, and he's got nowhere to go. He's got no bank account. He's got no backup stuff, and they're living off whatever money Deesa's been making as a stone singer. And
that doesn't sound like it garnishes a great salary, to be fair.
I thought she did a great job.
Stone singer.
That's what they're called.
I know, but there's a singer.
Check my notes. I can't remember.
No, a stoned singer.
Stoned singer. All the greats.
Yeah.
She could fit in well with the Doors.
That's true.
That's the
Pink Floyd.
All the greats. Yeah. But now, before we move on from this scene, I just wanted to say, I'm wondering, what do you think about this being the possibility that this is what wakes the Balrog?
The tremors.
The huge,
Well, we saw the Balrog waking up in season 1.
No, that is true. But I mean, in this one we saw lots of rocks fall, but then we saw one giant piece of rock fall and break an enormous bridge.
True.
So I'm if something's going to wake him from his slumber, I think that's more likely than a little leaf falling in season 1.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. But I think if that was the case, they would have made a reference to it immediately. But they're hardly going to be do you remember 2 episodes ago there when there was a big rock? I hope so. I still hold on to the idea that we came up with in our episode that we released just before the TV show dropped. Basically, we went through a couple of predictions, and one of them was that I predicted that I think that Sauron is going to be the reason of the Balrog waking up. And we've seen in episode 1 that Sauron has control over creatures. He shouldn't have any control over Balrogs because they're kind of on the same power level in Lord of the Rings lore. But I think he will be able to wake up the Balrogs so that there is a reason for him to give the dwarves rings. So basically, he's going to have to gift the dwarves the rings, and they'll be that'll protect.
But he already, I suppose that is already mentioned in this episode as well at some point where he says the dwarves are having a big problem, by the way. Well, my main point was I didn't want that to be the reason that the Balrog woke up, because that would take away from the whole what we've always thought, which is because the dwarves delved too deep and too greedily. Yeah, so I don't want to just be oh no, there was an eruption of Mount Doom, and
then both of our ideas shouldn't count. It should be due to them.
No, that's what I'm saying. I hope it is, and it was just something that I was I hope that's not that they're not going to be oh yeah, that's what woke up the Balrog. But you never know.
But to be fair, in season 1, that is what woke up the Balrog. They delved too greedily, too deep. They were digging in mines that they shouldn't have been.
But he woke up and they went back to sleep.
Well, we don't know that. He woke up, and that's all we've seen of him.
Or maybe just having a slow breakfast.
He could be a good 20 miles downstairs.
He's lounging.
Yeah.
It takes him a while to get out of his PJs.
Yeah, he's I'm not going to go up straight away and annoy the upstairs neighbours.
So, moving on then, we get our opening credits, and we get that same wonderful music from Howard Shore, the same as in season 1. We get a very, very similar opening credit scene with the kind of
the sand moving around on a soundboard kind of thing.
It's like they put on a symbol or a soundboard, and I've seen it done with electronic ones as well, where they put it and then they plug it into an electric current, and then the current creates all the different shapes, which is really, really cool. And they actually did a behind the scenes thing, didn't they, for season 1?
Yeah, I think
and how they made that, which is awesome. And this is basically the same thing. They've kind of just seems like they've got bigger grains of sand this time.
Bigger grains. The black ones from season 1 are now crimson ones this season.
I don't know.
They're red. They're definitely red.
Bit of a colour change. And new shapes. Yeah, new shapes. There's a Balrog shape.
There is a Balrog shape, and there looks like there might be some sort of sigil that looks like could be... I didn't get a good look, so maybe a king with stairs and
There's definitely more sunglasses in there, though. So loads of sunglasses.
Yeah. I saw a little sunglasses with mustache.
And then after the opening credits, we get our scene of Galadriel, and she is in the forest where they have all the trees, and she's in front of the tree of her brother Finrod, the carving of that thing, and she's planting seeds like we've seen them do before. Like we've seen
Adar
do it. We've seen
we saw Arondir do it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so planting seeds before battle, but
then also I think they
planted
plant them. I think they plant them after the battle as well.
Just to be safe.
Exactly.
During the battle.
They don't know when the harvest is coming. Right. The thing that caught me about that was like she's planting them literally like at the very like right at the roots of her brother's tree. And I was like, if that takes root and it grows to be a tree, it's just going to block off her brother's tree. So you won't be able to stand it.
Maybe she was planting a shrubbery.
Maybe she
go around the tree.
That would be lovely. Two-level effect.
That would be nice.
Anyway, it doesn't matter what that would turn out to be because 2 minutes later or 2 seconds later, we realize, dream sequence. Yes. Nightmare sequence, really. A kind of very Stranger Things vibe.
Yeah, because it's got all like weird Stranger Things vines. It's got that red hue as well. And again, it's just another thing that was a big disappointment from season 1 for me personally that we've talked about to death, that having so many dream sequences in the trailer. Now, probably not so many this time, but
I kind of think we kind of knew that was probably going to be a dream sequence as well.
Yeah,
in the trailer.
I know, but it would. I think if this was the first season release, you would have been like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
But I just think it's a cop out in general for any trailer, not just TV series, but like any movies, to have something that happens. Like horror movies are terrible for this; they'll always have like something terrifyingly freaky, but then when you're actually watching the movie, it'll be like someone asleep or like seeing a reflection in a mirror that's not actually there. And then you're like, that's such a cop-out.
That's how they got you in the seat.
That's how they get you in the seat, yeah, I suppose.
Gotcha. But what was really cool in this thing is, well, can you describe what we saw in that?
So,
the vines?
Yeah, we see, from memory, we see Celebrimbor talking to Galadriel. Don't really remember what he's talking about, but probably something to do with Finrod. And then the vines go... No. Okay, he was talking to her. Probably not important.
Well, what he said was really, really
probably
cool.
important.
No, he speaks in black speech and he quotes...
But eventually, he's Celebrimbor form first.
Yeah, no,
and then it changes.
It wasn't that important. Yeah, you were right.
No, yeah, exactly. He's talking to Galadriel, and then he's saying something, and then it sounds more Eva, and then it sounds like Halbrand's voice, and then it changes to like black speech. That's what the vibes I got, anyways.
Yeah,
I only had 4 beers. Johnny had 8. So, but and then we see the vines come out, and I actually thought this was different to how it was in the trailer, because from the trailer I remember the vines wrapping around Celebrimbor and aggressively like pulling him towards the tree, like almost hurting him. But this time it seemed like he was in control of the vines, and
until they killed him.
And, slowly sucked him to the tree. Did they kill him?
Yeah, they pulled him towards the tree. And actually, when you watch it again, there's all these kind of spikes on the tree that stick out. And then the vines pull him in. And those spikes stick out through his chest.
Oh, right. Okay.
But, like, he quotes the poem of the ring. Like, the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah.
Like, to bind them. Or when he does the whole, like, 3 rings for the elves under the night sky. He does that whole thing in black speech. And I was like... First of all, awesome. Second of all, this is... And then it switches out and we see that it's not a nightmare or a dream, I should say. It's kind of like a daydream that Galadriel's having. She's having
dozing off.
Her waking eye. She is seeing these visions like a nightmare, but while she's still awake.
A daymare.
Daymare. Fighter of the nightmare. Champion of the sun. Yeah, anyway, moving on from that. So basically we find out that the ring is kind of enhancing her powers of foresight, and she speaks about that with Gil-galad in the next scene. But I was wondering about her seeing the black speech and talking about the 3 rings and then the 7 rings and the 9 rings. I was like, well, they haven't been made yet. So she's hearing that poem about them in black speech. I was like, it's probably not that deep, and it's a cool thing to say in black speech.
Yeah, again, but like she doesn't understand black speech, so that's one thing.
She might.
Well,
she's well learned.
She'd be very rare to
young Galadriel.
I don't know. I don't think she would understand black speech. If she did, and she understood that, I think that we're probably thinking about it a lot deeper than the writers are.
That happens a lot.
No, I don't want to be too insulting, but I don't think it is that deep.
Like, yeah, no, it's probably not.
they're going to make more rings, I assume.
Anyway, she moves on, and it moves on, and we see that Galadriel is in this kind of like battle strategy meeting with Gil-galad, and there's just a gang of elves around that are chatting about what they should be doing next, and then she kind of comes to out of her little daydream, and then Gil-galad sort of speaks to her, and he's like, what would the commander of the northern armies do in this situation? And it's kind of like, oh, right, so
I forgot.
He's respecting her now, and like is kind of saying, okay, you are still the commander of the northern armies. I'm looking for your opinion publicly in front of these other people. So it's a big turn that he's like, she's won back his kind of respect, and she seems to be kind of getting back into his, slipping back into his good books. They are now ring buddies, I suppose. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, she's finally gained his trust off screen somehow, but
yeah. But I mean, maybe it's, again, they've been through a lot, and maybe now, like, as I said, they've now got the 3 rings, and maybe they've had maybe they're in like a 3-ring WhatsApp group.
Yeah, probably. That would make sense. Elven Kings and Galadriel and Círdan.
Elven King. 3 rings for the Elven King and Galadriel and Círdan under the night sky. So they, as I said, they talk about this. The rings are kind of kindling, is the word they use. It's kindling their powers. And Gil-galad says that he's also been seeing some stuff. He said that, I can't remember. He said he saw mountains turn to dust or something else.
I was thinking immediately, like, I saw mountains.
Mountains, Gil-galad. Gil-gandalf. Gil-galad explains that Sauron has the ability to, quote, sculpt their thoughts and to alter reality. So he says that when he's speaking to Galadriel, and he's kind of warning her that, you know, Sauron has this ability and he's already been in touch with you and you need to kind of like be careful. And they, you know, but they are seeming to have a lot more, like, I don't know, more courteous discourse between the two of them. They're speaking to each other with a lot more respect. Galadriel's not so hastily making everyone angry, whoever she speaks to. And Gil-galad's also kind of like listening to her and be like, okay, take your opinion.
Better dialogue.
So that was that. We shift to Rune then, and we get again the runic theme, the rune music, which is pretty cool as well. Yeah, all these weird voices going. They're called the mystery Belgian choir. I think are the people.
Belgian? No, it was
Bulgarian.
Bulgarian. Yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah. I was about to say Bangladesh.
Belgium is in Bulgaria. Dude.
Oh, it's the capital. It's the capital county.
Sorry, I forgot. I mixed up my B's. So the Mystery Bulgarian Choir, I think, is the people that sing that song, and it's so awesome because it has those voices, and then it converts into this kind of like Celtic jig, and it's really, really cool. And who do we meet, Dave, in Rune for the first time? Irish actor.
Oh yes, sorry. So we get to see Ciarán Hinds, who is Aberforth Dumbledore for any of you Harry Potter fans. He plays him, and he also is he's Mance Rayder from Game of Thrones.
He's Dumbledore?
No, he's Aberforth Dumbledore. Who's Dumbledore?
Who's before Dumbledore?
So I think that's his name, Aberforth. And now I can't even remember.
Well before.
Albus Dumbledore is the main guy. Oh God, Harry Potter stands are going to kill me. Anyways, he's pretty cool. He immediately looks like a wizard.
He's got an awesome beard.
He looks like Saruman. He's got the eyebrow things going on there.
He's got a proper staff.
He has a proper staff. Like, they're all functioning very well. And he's got a very commanding voice, and he looks the part. And I think he does have a kind of a strange face, and I can say that because he's from my island. So I was surprised that he fitted so well into the costume, and
he's got a huge head.
He's got a massive, long face.
I wouldn't say it was long. It's just a very large head. I feel like everything I've seen him in, I've been watching that series Kin recently.
Oh, he's in that as well.
Yeah. And just every time I see the camera on him, I'm like, that's a big head.
I just found him so strange in Game of Thrones because they go over the wall to the wildlings, and then everyone's a big, hairy, disgusting, like, rude man. And then Mance Rayder is just this clean-shaven, huge head, like, kind gentleman. I'm like, how? You're the leader.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? So
how did you get to that position? How did you get these crazy people to respect you?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, he looks brilliant. And
we find out that basically he is the one who sent the 3 mystics in the...
Mystiques. They are mystiques in this because they turned into butterflies.
They're shape-shifted.
Yeah.
Mystiques. Okay, yes. Anybody who's an X-Man fan? X-Men.
Everyone's an X-Men fan.
Yes, very good. And they sort of seem to use blood to summon each other. That seems to be the way that they're. It's like the taxi service over there now. He kind of, some girl puts out her hands, they cut her hands open, the blood drops to the floor, and then the blondie one, who everyone thought was Eminem in season 1,
everyone thought was Anatar.
Yeah, it was like, look, it's Sauron. It was like, oh no, there's pure Eminem Sauron. And then it's like, no, it's a woman. And she shows up, and then he kind of gives this cool dig at his bird, and he kind of goes, oh, I think we just wasted blood on summoning you. We could have summoned someone with actual like
value.
Yeah, basically. We're kind of, in that way, we're kind of saying, okay, he's insulting her, he's not happy with her, and we're learning about that they use this blood as this kind of whatever to get people to show up when they want them to.
I would have saved the blood for someone important.
Is that what he said?
Something like that. But like that is what he's
that
going
sounds
for.
Correct. Good. Well done. So that's and then straight after that, this other person comes in, one of the guys that wears these masks, and I believe them to be the Easterlings, I imagine, because they're living out in this area out east in Rune, and we learn that they have some sort of leprosy, some sort of skin disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did not pick up on that.
All right. Okay.
How did you? What's that?
He
about?
says that they are they're looking for I can't remember the exact quote, but I didn't write it down. He said that they're looking for a cure. He said something like, maybe, what did he say? Something about we need maybe they can help us to find a cure for our skin condition or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe a sun cream would do the trick.
maybe
like they're out in the blazing hot heat.
Go to their dermatologist.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
see what the story is. Factor 50 minimum. I'd say
so they're going to be. I don't think they're Easterlings. I think they're some weird tribe. They could have been the Wayne
But the
Riders.
Easterlings are weird tribes. Just remember, they're not one faction.
No, I know.
Go back and listen to our Easterlings episode.
No, but even then, like, just the fact that you said they have this leprosy skin condition, we are going to see the reveal of one of them taking off their mask at some point in this show, because they're obviously going to be rank. Or maybe they're going to be like, maybe they're all hobbits or something. That would be stupid, but maybe.
They're taller, aren't they?
It'd be a shock. Yeah. That's the shock.
I am shocked. So then also the other thing was that they say that they're planning to capture the Istar. And,
And also...
how are they going to capture him, Dave?
Well, Kieran Hines kind of... I don't know what we're calling him. The Dark Wizard, I think he's... One of the Easterling guys goes up and says, like, look, we'll go and we'll capture him. And Kieran Hines kind of laughs this off and says, like, well, you think you can handle the Easter? And he's like, well, we can kill his little halfling if...
Or capture him.
Or maybe if he doesn't do what we say. And then Saruman... I don't know what to call him. Dark Wizard Man has a little smile and he's like, this guy's good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's been a bounty hunter before.
Yeah, he's just some mercenary out there. Doing it for the love.
Yeah, for the love of the game.
We jump over and we check in with the stranger, and we see what him and Nori and Poppy now are up to. And I got over the whole Poppy thing. I was like, episode 2, I was like, right, Poppy's just here now, so that's fine.
She's not very popular with Johnny.
She wasn't in episode 1, but I actually think by episode 2, I'd kind of forgotten the whole episode 1 ordeal. And I was like, okay, she's just back part of the story now again. And maybe the writers were like, yeah, they might be annoyed in episode 1, but they'll just get used to it and
they'll get over it.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe they're right. I'm just like, okay, she's there now. And I do like the actress. I do like their chemistry. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, actually, now that I think of it, it would be kind of weird to just have Nori and no other Poppy with her, because like they bounced off each other so well in season 1.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, like Nori and the Stranger are fine, but I assume they're going to be split up at some point, and maybe the writers were like, oh crap, we better have Nori not on her own, she needs to talk to someone, so
yeah,
Poppy and her will go off into their own adventure at some point. Maybe.
That's
possible.
That remains to be seen. So, but we check in with them anyway, and Poppy, as we know, she is now she was made the trail finder.
Yeah, trailblazer. I think trail finder.
So she's a trail finder. So she just basically means she's got really good at Google Maps, and she knows what's going on. And so she's just like checking out and trying to see where they're going. And she mentions them. Oh, by the way, I think if we turn left here, we'll get a shortcut and it'll like half our journey or something. And it's basically a trek straight across complete desert. And I like the stranger. He just goes something like, I think on day 1 we'll run out of water, and on day 2 we will die of thirst. And I don't think that would be a very good option. At least in my opinion. Or he says like, he says, perhaps it's just me. And he like, kind of gives us a little smirk. And I was like, oh, he's got a little sense of humor now.
He's a sassy little bitch.
Sassy stranger. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I liked him there.
Yeah, and then also we see that the Easterlings, or whoever, I'm just going to call them the Easterlings for now.
Yeah, fair.
Or whatever, this little tribe people with their tin masks. They are following them, and there's a whole thing where they're hiding in a bush. And if you remember, they nearly get attacked by some rattlesnake or something.
Yeah. It's very similar to Lord of the Rings vibes for number 2, Two Towers, I think, when Sam and Frodo are hiding under the
elven cloaks.
The elven cloaks, exactly. Yeah. And then they see Easterlings approaching, which is funny. And God, the Easterlings are just so blind. Maybe they need to sort out their blindness before their leprosy.
Affects their eyes as well, yeah. So basically they're like, okay, we're being followed by these, we don't know what they want, but they're definitely trying to kill us. So we should take that dangerous shortcut. So that's why they veer off, and then they quote again, season 1, they're like, nobody goes off trail and nobody walks alone.
Yeah.
And the stranger's all for it. Now he's actually able to speak. He's like, and nobody walks alone. And he's delighted.
Snails. That's all he could contribute last season.
But as the stranger predicted, they run out of water very quickly, and soon enough they all basically are exhausted, and he's dragging the 2 Harfoots, and eventually he just collapses of exhaustion and probably thirst. And then basically they see that there's a watering hole very, very nearby, and they manage to get him there, revive him with some water, and what happens next?
And then basically another throwback to Lord of the Rings, where the well goes way down and starts making loads of noise, or the bucket in the well drops, and then there's a little like ring hitting a bell, or a little thing hitting a bell, which is obviously attracting nearby strangers, and a bunch of Easterlings then rock up, and they see the boys, and they're like,
they do.
And then the poor stranger, he's like, we're just here to have some water, and that's all we're doing. And then they're about to attack, and then obviously stranger sends an old Twister towards them. So that was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah,
he obviously can't control his powers really well.
When he finds the staff.
Oh, that's what.
Do you remember?
The staff was like holding the bucket of water.
Is that what
it was? It was because it's kind of pointed like this and down. So I think that was
like a curve.
That's what I'm saying. The curve like this.
Oh
yeah, and then like curves down like here.
Right.
So it was, I think this curve was like locked in to keep the water and the bucket in that position. And then somebody took it off and threw it over, and then the stranger picked it up, and then they started working with the water.
I see.
So whatever that, it seems to be some sort of conduit for his powers.
Well, he uses it anyway, and he seems to be able to make a massive sandstorm.
Yeah.
Is that a sandstorm? Well, I can't remember. He makes a huge sand tornado, and
big
twister, and it's pretty class. And during that twister, his staff disintegrates and kind of just disappears.
Yeah.
And then the Harfoots, I was like, oh, he's definitely going to catch them just in the nick of time, but they just blow away. And I was like, this is class, just because it was so unexpected. And that's not what you. I like the Harfoots. They're warming to me, like Poppy and Nori. I like their kind of camaraderie and their banter. So I wasn't like I wanted to see them harmed, but I was like, I liked the fact that when you see that person fly away without getting saved at just the last nick of time, it was like, oh, it didn't do the usual trope that what movies and TV always do. So I was like, anytime something just like really surprises me, I'm like, not if it's just completely wacky, but it's it surprised me to be like, oh wow, that's quite realistic, that they're not always going to get saved just in the nick of time and clasp onto like their middle finger and just like pull them in that way. You know?
No, I get that, but at the same time, like it's not like they died. So
maybe.
I mean, I don't think so. I'm trying to.
I'm only joking. Yeah, of course.
Go through my head right now and see if there's any more trailer footage of the Harfoots, which I don't think there is. But we do know that they had to be separated at some point because the stranger will meet. Spoiler alert: Tom Bombadil at some point.
Tom Bombadil.
We know from the trailer, so. If you're getting spoiled, then what are you doing not watching trailers but watching the Melonheads? That's a good choice.
Get your priorities.
Yeah,
but also thank you.
Please continue and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you, guys.
Love you guys. Moria. We're back to Moria. And we got these three ladies who are, they're like a little trifecta of musicians.
Oh,
and
yes.
they are pretty amazing. Man, Sophia Nomvete. Wow. What? I mean, I had heard her singing this because I've been listening to the album before watching the series. So I already heard this and I was like, that is incredible. But watching it then in this scene, so obviously, Dave, would you like to just explain what is happening in this scene? Do you remember?
Yeah, I found the storyline kind of confusing. Like I know she is attempting to sing to the mountain to try and repair it a little bit, but she ends up doing more damage.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, they're called the Stone Singers, and they go and they speak to the king, and the king kind of tells them that for 9 centuries the Stone Singers have always been able to find the light through the rock or something like that. So
right, and he basically says like until now, and unless you can like figure it out, and she's like, don't worry, we have this. Yeah,
no, sorry. He says that thing about the 9 centuries. He says that after they kind of fail, and he says until now, and for whatever reason, they've abandoned us, or that
power of
connection to the mountain, or something like that. I can't remember, but he says something basically. He doesn't blame. He's not like, you guys are crap, but he's saying something like,
kind of comes off that way a little bit.
No, I don't think so. He.
No, but I mean, it's supposed to be a moment of Durin versus Disa, or Durin the Third versus Disa. Do you know? It's not. It's kind of derogatory the way.
I disagree. I don't think so. Because again, I watched it back.
I agree with myself.
But you're on your own.
Who agrees with me?
Hands up in the chat.
I see 4 hands.
I don't know. I think now again, you could be right. Probably not. But so first of all, they go and they ask for his like blessing, or his, do we have your permission to do this? And he goes, yeah, fire away. They sing this awesome song, and it's like while they're singing it, it seems like there's this like kind of power that comes out, and all the like lamps that are in their way just blow out, and the rocks start to like shake and crumble like little by little, and then eventually, as you said, one of the few remaining windows closes in on itself as well. So they're really shit out of luck, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know what's going on there. Like, how did they lose their power, or how powerful was this power in the beginning anyways? Like, I always thought it was a very small, minor kind of thing that it just kind of guided you, but now they're able to like shake mountains and stuff. So
it's pretty cool.
It's cool, but for me in season 1, this was just something that you sing to the mountain. It gives you a vibe of where to dig, where to find the light, where
it was almost like a prayer before digging.
Yeah.
Like they were like, okay, we're going to sing. Maybe it has absolutely zero effect, but we're just going to sing, and then we're going to dig here,
exactly like a prayer,
and just be like, oh, we've sang our song, so we should be safe.
Yeah. So whereas now it's kind of like, give us a moment and we can move rock, and now it's
but
way
also,
more powerful.
I suppose thinking back now, I'm just remembering that in season 1, when Elrond is asking Disa, what's the story with all this, the singing?
Yeah,
she says the mountain tells us where to dig, and where to leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of like directions, like you were saying before.
Yeah,
so it's not just a prayer and then just dig wherever you want and think, I have the blessing, so it's fine. It is there is some sort of a response almost from the mountain telling do this, do that. So, for me, I kind of like this whole thing. I like the singing to the mountains. I just think it's kind of cool.
Like the vibes of the dwarves.
I love it. To be honest, this next scene now. So then, when they fail, they all kind of leave, and as they're leaving, the king asks Disa to stay behind, has a little chat with her, and it was a really, really nice little over and back. Not nice as in endearing, because Disa's very sharp, and she kind of basically, she's not afraid to stand her ground and kind of tell the king exactly what she thinks of him. And he basically says that he spoke in anger, referring to how he disowned his son, pretty much. So she kind of goes, oh, so if that's an apology, well, you should whatever. But basically, they're talking about the stubbornness of dwarves, and just I loved everything about it.
Yeah,
it seems so good. I love Disa, the character. I think she's fantastic. I love Durin the Third. I love both the Durins, but I think he's so cool as well. His voice is so awesome.
He's brilliant. Yeah, I do like how they talk about the stubbornness of dwarves and like the hardness of dwarves, but like not in a negative way at all. And we'll see where the Durans talk about like how similar they are with each other, just being as hard as each other, I suppose. But like it's like they have fuzzy little squishy hearts, but it's rounded in rock and bone and metal.
Yeah, they are just. But that's so true. It's like it's such a proper adaptation of Tolkien's word as well. That
it's a good way to describe
the dwarves.
Yeah,
and also, I think the king. What is it? There is one cool line where he says something about it takes certain amount of strength, and she says, "Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of strength to oh crap, I've just lost it. But what'd she say?
To not apologize?
Like basically, it takes some. She says something like it takes a huge amount of strength to carry that grudge or to carry that.
Yes.
To carry that stubbornness or something. She's like,
for so long. And then he goes, it does.
Yeah.
And I was like, how's he going to respond? And he goes, it does. And it's kind of like a good response. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
He's like proud of his stubbornness.
Yeah.
But again, good, strong, stubborn dwarf. I mean, it's
fair play to him.
Yeah, it's class. And then we stay in Moria for another couple of scenes, and we get to see Narvi a little bit.
We never really talked about Narvi. We get to see him for the first time ever.
He kind of introduces them to the king before they start their stone singing. And also we get to see that he's kind of a man of the people as well. That they're saying to him like, Narvi, we're serving out here. And he's like, I'm going to talk to the king right now. And he's like, and then he goes in and speaks to the king, and he's like, look, we kind of need to start digging into the rations of whatever the grain. The king's like, okay, yeah, go ahead. And then he's like, how long do you reckon we have? And Narvi's like, the king was, who is it? Yeah,
Narvi's like 3 months.
We got about 3 months. And he's like, crap.
Oh no. Yeah. But Narvi as a character coming into...
Very exciting.
Yeah, because he is one of the members that creates the Doors of Durin.
Durin.
Thank you.
You're getting better at that.
Lots and lots of practice. So yeah, he's one of the...
I'm going to go open that door.
He's one of the dwarves that creates the Doors of Durin with Celebrimbor. Right? No.
Sure.
No, Celebrimbor.
Yes?
Yes, with Celebrimbor. So they're two friends, I suppose, in a way.
Well, we get to see later in this very episode that Celebrimbor is just developing what?
Alzheimer's. I just don't remember.
I think I've got a bit of that. What also is used in the Doors of Durin?
Oh yes, that's a great scene. Will we talk about that now, or?
Well, we just say it in this moment because you were saying about who is Narvi. He builds the doors with Celebrimbor.
I said it to you as well so Celebrimbor has like a flat slab in his little office or whatever, and then one of the Gwathi Myrdain, one of his little like helper servant girls, she's like, oh no, it's like invisible, and he takes the slab outside and he's like, it's invisible but not to moonlight, and he's like, I think I'll call it Ithilden, which I think that was the part that ruined it for me. I thought it was cool, but I hate when it's like, I think I'll call it...
No, he didn't say that. He said, I have called it Ithilden.
Okay, but... Same thing. Like, I have called it Ithilden, but like, Ithilden literally translates to moonlight, right? Or it translates to like he didn't call
shine
it that.
Or something like
It's like me going outside and pouring water on the ground and being like, I'm calling it wet. I'm like, yeah, obviously, because we have that word already.
Or if I live in Spain and I'm going to like put my food on something, I'm going to call this mesa, which means table in Spanish. It's like, it's true, and all of the English listening audience are like, oh, mesa, that sounds so cool. It's like, no, that's just the word for it.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, so that was kind of a little silly for me, because I think if anyone knows the word Ithilden, they're probably more than just an average Tolkien fan.
But I don't know if it is that. I know that Ithil is something about the light, isn't it?
Yeah, but Ithilden light is like
true.
Light from the moon. I don't know. If anyone disagrees or knows any more, then let us know. But was that not a little bit like, that's kind of dumb?
Maybe.
Because it's just, that's the word of what it is. But like it was cool how he showed it, and the actual lighting up was pretty cool.
I think the writers are like, this show is going to be analysed by the biggest nerds in the world, is it? And then here we are.
And then
wait a minute.
Well, that's their problem for inviting us all to the premiere, and then be like, no, don't analyse.
Yeah. Don't look into it too much, guys.
But yeah, like that. But
so
that was
that's
a cool
who
scene.
Narvi is. But also, who else is Narvi? What else did he create, Dave, that we talked about in not one but 2 podcasts?
Oh God, who did he create?
What did he create?
Oh, Narvi.
Yes, I think.
Um,
I'll give you a clue. You are wearing one of them right now.
a necklace.
Yes,
Oh no, the
Noglimir.
Noglimir.
I think Narvi created that.
No, Narvi. Did he? You gotta fact check that.
Yeah.
I think that's like a couple thousand years before Narvi. No.
Timeline, Dave. So it's all over the place.
No, but like as in the timeline, the
You
Tolkien's timeline.
Dave will look into this while we take some messages. So then we cut to, as I said, we stay with the dwarves for a few minutes. We cut then to see Durin actually working in the mine, and he's not having a good time. He doesn't get on very well with his co-workers or with his colleagues, and he's getting a few blisters on his hands, and they're all laughing at him. And one of them goes, "Oh, don't worry, blisters. I've had them." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, when I was 5." And they all have a good laugh.
Again, this was another situation where I'm like, they're bullying the prince. It's
Yeah,
not
and they're
like it's not like he lost his title. Like he's just having a tiff with his dad.
Yeah,
and
they
like,
should know if he gets back into power, which is very, very likely, then he's coming for us.
I just thought that was a bit weird. It's like again another act of treason. He's just like, well, he's just punching the prince.
It also seemed in season 1 that like most of the townspeople really respected the prince and they really liked him.
Yeah,
And
I didn't get that because he does what do they call
the
it?
rock breaking thing.
They invoke the right of Tirin Gahad or something
that's
like that.
pretty close.
Something like that.
Yeah. Maybe that's exactly.
Tirin to something. But anyways,
Tearing into the rocks.
But like that showed how Durin, even though he was a prince, was one of the people.
Yeah.
Do you know he
I agree.
breaks the rock. He's actually down there. So then when he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm down with the miners now," I'm like, there's loads of scenes of him going into the mines, risking his life.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just kind of
He goes
weird.
in, he says a lot, and he's like, "There's 3 guys in that. I need to get them out." And he's running in after them, and like when there's the first kind of collapse in the old mine, I think they call it in season 1.
By the way, I don't think Narvi was part of the Noglimir thing. I think that was a while ago because every time I like Google Noglimir and Narvi, it comes up like with the crossed out Narvi word, and then Noglimir comes up with the crossed out Narvi word there.
I still believe myself. Right. Okay. Well, maybe we'll just cut that. I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just sometimes close to the truth.
Adjacent to the wrong answer.
But so anyway, Durin, he's not having a great time. He's kind of been bullied. They're all laughing at him, and then it cuts to like they're seeing that he's still sitting in his regular house, and he's in his like these big giant thrones, and he's having his meal with his wife, and it's like, "How was school today?" And he's like, "It was bad. They bullied me. I didn't like it." It was really funny.
Yeah.
And that's when we find out, as I mentioned earlier, that he was like, "This tastes like last year's bread," and she's like, "It is."
Yeah.
But Austin, it is shit.
Coffee tastes like shit.
So yeah, that was funny. And then she mentions that the kids are refusing to eat again, and so the kids just aren't eating food because it's rank and it's not great.
Do you notice as well?
So life is tough.
I always wondered why in season 1 we never got to see the kids' faces. Do you remember they're running around, they're wearing like the mask, and you only get to hear them in the background, and like Disa's always shouting at them, and I was like, I wonder why that is. And I'm just thinking it's probably because it must be really weird to have a child dwarf in the show and see what they look like, because like they can't be bearded. I suppose they'd just be really small children. So anyway, sorry, it just came across my mind. Moving on
to the Grey Havens, which we...
The Gravens.
The Gravens, yes. And we get to see Galadriel and Elrond having a little chat. Elrond is also just taking up a little hobby. He's doing a bit of woodwork. Carving out a boat, like the helm of a boat out of a tree trunk or something.
Yeah, that's what I got the vibe of as well. Like the front of a ship or
the bow.
The bow.
Is that what it's called?
Possibly.
I don't know anything about ships.
No, me neither.
As you can tell.
Port side.
Starboard. So Galadriel asks Elrond to join their quest. They're thinking of heading to Eregion because they want to ensure that Celebrimbor is safe, and they want to kind of search for Sauron. And she's like, he could be there. We need to go and make sure. And she's like, we haven't heard any messages from Celebrimbor because, oh no, as we predicted in episode 1, the messengers, like 2 messages that Gil-galad sent out, were both killed. Although we didn't get to see by whom or what.
But obviously that's coming. Right, like they look like they were killed suspiciously. They looked like they were
being dragged up, but 2 of them were being dragged.
Ropes.
Well, all I know is that I was like, oh, one of them's being dragged. Maybe it's Sauron, maybe it's Halbrand there. But then in the same shot, we see another thing being dragged in the opposite direction. So it's like there's minimum 2 people involved in this like assassination.
I think it's like 2 things. I don't know what these things are, but like I'm getting vibes that like it's off screen.
It was the Ents.
But well, yeah, like I don't know. Obviously it wasn't the Ents, but like why didn't they just show us orcs? But also, why would it be orcs? Like who could it be? Who could have killed these things?
I'm just assuming Sauron sent out like a message to his mercenaries, and he's like,
"But what mercenaries?"
I don't know, Dave.
I don't know. But remember this.
It was
moment.
It was Nervy. He was involved in that as well. Google it.
I'm a Google
Tolkien Gateway, quick. So anyway,
shout out to Tolkien Gateway.
Galadriel says, quote, he refuses to send me without you. Speaking about Gil-galad. Elrond says, and why is that? Galadriel says, you know the answer. And Elrond says, I'm asking if you know it. Which I was like, Elrond is being a pure sassy boss here.
Yeah.
And he was very like,
He was
very cranky.
He was cranky
towards
there.
Galadriel. Now he was.
He didn't get his way, you know.
And Galadriel admits
saved Middle Earth, and he wasn't happy.
Again, Galadriel is softening a little bit here, and again she admits to being wrong and saying that Sauron, again, quote, used her and played her like a harp to a melody not of her choosing. And again to this, Elrond responds, it was entirely of your choosing.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say that basically Halbrand or Sauron, you gave him this because that, or you know, you were like, oh, he's a king, I'm going to put him in there, and then he was like, this is exactly what he wanted, but it's also exactly what you wanted, and you were aligned in this kind of plan. So he is really like not giving her an inch at all. He's really just not taking any more of her crap.
Fair play to him, like, because somebody had to, and I think Elrond is one of the most consistent characters in the whole show, dialogue wise. Like, he's, apart from his jump, I don't think he's done or said anything stupid. And like, I still don't think that's massively stupid. I just think
no, maybe not. Like, I mean, he was kind of backed into a corner, and he was like, look, I'm.
Why didn't he throw the rings? Why does he throw himself?
Because throwing the rings, maybe they just wash up on, like, it's probably not that.
Maybe, but Círdan was about to throw them out into the, I don't know.
But there's a big difference between throwing them into like they call it a scar on the earth that's so deep that not even Manwë knows how deep it is.
Okay.
That's different to throwing them into they just wash up in a stream and just some randomer would pick them up and use them, you know? So,
yeah. No,
I understand that. But anyway, as I said, Elrond explains exactly what Sauron has got. And that he's got exactly what he wanted. And he says, and now he has done the same to Gil-galad. So he's showing us that he's kind of like the wisest elf and the wisest character, kind of. He knows that they're all being seduced by Sauron. And he also basically says, Galadriel says something like, what did she say? Something about like, oh, if he ever... when he left, now I need to face him again or something like that. And he said he never left. And he said, since you all put on those rings, you've all become his collaborators. Again, he's really just like, I can't believe it, guys.
Yeah.
Why aren't you listening to me?
I told you.
Yeah. 1,000 times.
I told you.
Yeah.
The first thing I told you.
And then he says that, and this is where I got a bit of an eye roll when Galadriel was like, you once made me a promise. And I was like, she's blackmailing him again because of some promise that he was like, I promised never to not trust you or something. I can't remember. But it was just like, and then he just basically just says, if our friendship ever meant anything to you, just leave out right now.
Yeah.
And I was like,
whoa.
Wow.
I didn't expect that as well.
Neither did I. And again, fair play to him.
Fair play to him. God bless him.
Yeah. Good man himself. Yeah. That was really good. Then we cut straight to Círdan. What's Círdan doing, Dave?
What is Círdan doing?
I'll give you a clue. What's his most famous feature?
Oh, he's shaving.
He's
his
shaving.
beard.
Why is he shaving? I don't get it. Now,
Look, this is coming from two guys that are clearly not clean shaven. If you're watching us on YouTube, so
we like a beard.
we might be a little bit biased in that regard.
No, but it's like that's his thing. Kirdan is famous
I
for
know.
having a beard, and it's kind of supposed to be a longish beard as well.
I don't know why. Like, I think it's just like it's in my mind. It's just like the show really just wanted to make him not look like he did in the book, and they were like, "All right, let's just give him the beard for the first episode, and then after that, we're taking it away." But I just don't know why. I don't know what's the point of
I
it.
don't know why they would be against it. It was like in season 1, where they're like, okay, no long hair for any of the elves.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in season 2, it's like pretty much every new elf is like, give them long hair. Because
Yeah, so-
it was a big...
If anyone can answer us on that, like I don't know why. I think it's a bizarre. It's not. It didn't annoy me as much as it annoyed you.
No, it didn't. Well, I did annoy me. Actually.
Yeah, we had to pause for like 10 minutes while Johnny ranted and threw things around the room.
Cried.
Yeah.
But I will say this.
I think he looks
that
good
because
without
he's
it,
so... Yeah, but I was
he
just so
looks good without
excited to see him with a beard.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, there's Kirdan. Oh my God.
Want to
and
fondle
he has
his
a beard. I suppose... Maybe I said this in the last episode as well, that he's so old that he's actually entered the life cycle that he can grow a beard. So I'm wondering, it's like...
It sounds like a your mama or you're so old joke.
You're
you know?
so old.
You're so old you enter the life cycle
Yeah.
of a beard.
If you was an elf, you'd have a beard. So no, I think he's so old that he's kind of past that puberty stage of being an elf. And now, maybe for him growing a beard, maybe his beard grows at the same rate it would do for a normal human, a normal adult man. So maybe
is that what you're thinking? You're thinking
yeah.
like he's grown this over like 1,000 years or something?
that's what I had thought before.
Oh, right. No.
I thought that it was just like it grew really slowly for thousands and thousands of years, and then eventually it was
No,
like
because then you would see the likes of like Elrond with like
bum fluff.
Yeah. No, I think the way it's done
Yeah.
is you get to a certain period and then you're able to grow a beard similar to a man. Maybe we'll see him in the next episode. Or,
He could have a 5 o'clock shadow by the.
He could have a
next
full-on
evening.
beard, yeah. So we don't know. We will
Stay
see.
tuned for that. Beard watch. So yeah, anyway, that was one of my main focuses in this whole scene. I was like, his beard, what's going on? But anyway, what was cool here was he has this little dialogue, Círdan and Elrond, and they speak about, I really like when they do this in shows, when they're like, okay, our audience are not idiots. They're going to be able to pick up on what's going on. And they speak about, and he's like, Rumil was a drunk or something like that. And he's like, and don't get me started on Daron.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, but his voice could whatever. And so you're kind of going, oh, okay, these are like, he's a poet and some sort of a bard or a singer. And we don't know anything about them, but we can tell just from the context that these are probably people that are really... they're like the great poets or the great singers that are held up in lore among the elves. And I was like, that's just a really cool little touch. And it doesn't insult our intelligence as well to kind of just bring it in that way and not be like, there was once upon a time this brilliant... And it's just like a small... And it's like, you would imagine that in this world with elves, they would just... And imagine you're a fly on the wall in an elven realm and you're just like listening to a conversation. Surely they'd talk about people and characters that you've no idea who they are, but that would be natural to their conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like if an American person came over to like our house and they were just listening to us and we were talking about the local politicians or something, they'd be like, I have no idea who these people are, but it's part of their culture.
Yesterday we witnessed our dad talk to our mother and kind of the rest of us, and the story was something like, you'll never guess that Geraldine's brother has married Sinead's husband's daughter's wife. Or something. It was, and we were like, I don't know either of the main characters. So like, I don't know I don't know the spin-off show guys either. Like, so back up, Dad. And he was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we,
I think one of them was like the ex-manager of the Irish football team.
There was some sort of a story there, but
we'll cut that story out because I wish it was cut out last night.
But there is some really, really cool dialogue that I would say between Círdan and Elrond, and Círdan tells him to judge the work and leave judgment concerning those who wrote it to the judge who sees all things.
There's a lot of judging.
Yeah, very judgmental. Mental judging.
Mental judging, yeah.
And then Círdan, he's loving his ring. And he's showing like
Yeah,
all
I
these
love
new
that.
tricks that he's learned. He's like dips it into the water and stirs it around. All these like fish swim up and they're jumping around the place. And one of them jumps up onto land and is flapping around a bit. He's like, "Look, I caught a fish without even doing it."
Yeah.
And then
He picks that fish up, doesn't he? And,
yeah, he throws it back in. You know, catch and release. And what else does he say? He said that it could be the evil of Sauron that got them the... What have I written here? I can't even read my own writing.
black speech. Tengwar.
Oh yeah, sorry. I've deciphered what I wrote, guys. I wrote that something about that these could be really evil in the hands of Sauron, and that's why the elves had to keep the rings, or they had to remain in the custody of the elves, or something like that. And he says also, quote, "You are wise to fear this power, Elrond, but do not let that fear blind you to the ways it can be used for good." And so, I don't know, there was just a couple of things that I wrote down, a couple of quotes, because I was really enjoying the character of Círdan, and I really think that he came across really well on screen.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Great addition. Like, I love seeing him at the end. Was it the end of episode 1? Or, yeah, whenever he was introduced in episode 1, I just thought, he looks the part, he sounds the part, but he actually is a great addition to the cast, because he seems to be one of the only wise characters amongst the elves. Well, everyone has their flaws. Like Galadriel is very hot-headed. Gil-galad seems a bit dumb. Doesn't really know what's going on, and he's just waving his power around and gets to make the decisions.
He sounds dumb. I think his voice is very dumb. Yeah, I think he sounds like he's trying to be kind of like, you know, powerful, and he's like, "The rings, Elrond, give them to me."
We talked about it in like
I don't like his voice.
The very first episode of season 1, we mentioned it in our breakdown where we said something about how he seemed like a little bit dumb, because he was giving a speech and then it goes over to Elrond and Elrond's mouthing it, and you clearly see like Elrond's written it. But then the camera goes back to Gil-galad and he gives Elrond a look, and we say like, it's like he's dumb, but he's not dumb, because Elrond knows what he's doing, but he knows what Elrond's doing to him. It's kind of like a weird thing. So I remember us talking about it at the time. We were like, he comes across dumb, but he's actually the wisest of them all.
Even Gil-galad wouldn't be able to know what you're talking about right now.
Now I think like he's not. He's just kind of dumb, or he's kind of underwritten, I would say. That's the best way to put it. I think they were like, right, Elrond has to be class. Galadriel will write herself, and that didn't work out. Gil-galad will write himself because he's a king and he'll just, you know, do whatever. Círdan will write really good stuff for him. So I think that's kind of where they're at.
Maybe.
Círdan, Elrond, good. Galadriel, Gil-galad,
not so. But as I said, there's hope for Galadriel. She's turning. She's making changes, and that's good. Changes. And as I said, Elrond had that kind of cranky moment with Galadriel a few moments ago, and then now he's chatting to Círdan, and Círdan basically just says to him that he should be the one to guide his friends. Because he's like, clearly you're way smarter than these other people, so you go and you guide them.
That's very true.
And so that was good as well. Good advice. We swing back to Eregion. And Celebrimbor has just created this Ithilden, and he says it was made from the last sliver of Mithril, so they're all out of Mithril now, but he's used the last of it for something pretty cool. And he's created this Ithilden, which will be used to ornate the drawers of Durin. And then he spots Halbrand, who's still just hanging around outside. He's loitering.
Oh yeah, that's right. We never mentioned that. Is there an earlier scene?
There is an earlier scene, but it was like about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, I'll forget it. Halbrand is basically still waiting outside. He's like, if anyone's from Ireland, he's like Enoch Burke, waiting to get into the school.
That's a very rural joke. At the beginning of the episode, there was about a 30-second scene that I kind of just skipped over and said I'll just throw it into all this Eregion scene towards the end. Yeah. But it just showed us, and it was good that they did it at the beginning and then went back to it at the end, because you're like, oh, he's still waiting.
Yeah, because you feel the effect of time.
Yeah, when they change scenes.
Exactly, yeah. Unlike other parts of the show.
Yeah, so basically they showed him arriving and they were like, oh, what's... because remember, episode 1 left us on the cliffhanger, won't he be allowed in?
Yeah.
What's Celebrimbor going to say? And so episode 2 starts out, just a couple of scenes in, we see that apparently Celebrimbor said that he will not treat with him, and he's been told to leave, and he's like, oh, I'll just hang around out here for a while in case he changes his mind. And now we're towards the end of the episode, and we find out that he's still waiting. Celebrimbor spots him, and it's raining, and he's like, I'm going to go down and get rid of him myself.
Yeah.
And he goes down, and of course Sauron, just like very slippery and slimy, and he tricks his way in, and he pretends, and he's like, have you not spoken to Galadriel? And he's like, no. And he's like, oh, well, I have. And he's like, everything's changed.
Oh, poor Celebrimbor in the scene. He looks like a little lost puppy.
But then, and he's like, oh, so you don't even know about the rings? And Celebrimbor's like, oh, what of the rings?
Yeah,
they work? And he's just like so...
He looks so cute.
He
his
does.
eyes and his hair's all wet and matted back. And he's like, what of
He's
the
got
rings?
the best facial expressions.
Oh, I love him so much. I love
Charles.
Celebrimbor. I hope we see him forever.
He's an elf, Dave. He will live forever.
That's very
Don't you
true.
worry.
That's true.
He's never going to die. So he also says that, let me see now. So yeah, sorry, he mentions the rings, and immediately Celebrimbor's like, the rings! You must tell me about the rings. And he basically says that, then Sauron says to him, oh, but surely Galadriel and Gil-galad, surely they wouldn't neglect to send word to you. And he's like, oh, I see. And then he's
trying to cause distance between Celebrimbor and Gil-galad.
Exactly. And then suddenly he's like, and then he goes, I can't believe they didn't tell you. Oh, it's typical, isn't it? We do all the heavy work, all the heavy lifting, and then they go off and they enjoy the rings.
Smith.
And then suddenly he's like, oh, now we're on the same team.
Yeah.
It was very well done. I really enjoyed it.
Classic manipulation. Darren Brown tactics there. I liked it.
Bait and switch. Whatever that is. I don't know. Yeah.
The Cross the Switchblade. A good 1970s movie.
Yeah. So he just worms his way back in anyway. But it was pretty cool. And he tells Celebrimbor all about the rings. He's like, oh yeah, they worked. And Celebrimbor's like, and Lindon? He's like, yes. And the elves? Yes. And he's just like, and he turns around and then,
so excited.
And then he's like kind of almost weeping. And then Sauron or Halbrand is like, are you weeping? And he's like, no, I'm reveling.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, and then he says, I would open a first age bottle.
Oh yes,
and
I love that.
Over the moon. We were just like, we had to pause it.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine be like, I'm going to open a first age bottle?
A first age bottle from like
how much would that be worth?
Jeez, I'd say about 18 schmeckles. What's the currency? That's one thing they haven't talked about. What is the currency?
They just barter, I suppose. Here,
barter with currency.
Have a live donkey. For your first age stuff. And then he says, you've no idea how long I've waited for this. And so he's just basically giving Sauron all the information. He's just like, look, well, I think he already knew that this is his inner desires. He wanted, he already said it. He wanted to create something that, he wanted to put his mark on the map, really, because he wanted to be up there amongst the names of Feanor. And he was just like, that's his main goal. And Sauron then pleads for Celebrimbor to make rings for men. And Celebrimbor's like, why would I do that? That's a terrible idea.
Gross.
And then, and then basically Halbrand reveals himself to not be Halbrand, but to be a messenger sent to bring guidance to the ears of the wise. So I thought that was cool. Again, he's kind of going, I've been sent to bring this to the wise. Who is you? You are the wise. And again, he's really playing to his ego, because Celebrimbor has a big ego, and Sauron's just like stroking it. He's like, oh, here.
Yeah, love that. So he obviously comes out as Anatar.
Yes. Oh, we finally get
the name.
That actual Anatar.
Anatar. Yeah, so obviously this was cool. This was the moment we were all waiting for. And actually when the trailer dropped and we saw Anatar, it was a big kind of fist pump moment, but at the same time they never said it, and he's like, what am I to call you? And he says like a bringer of gifts or something like that. Yeah,
so that's towards the end of the scene. It's actually
a sharer of gifts. So Anatar literally translates to Lord of Gifts.
Yes.
In the book. And by the way, now we're kind of, this is better like episode 2, because we're getting into some more canonical, like actual lore stuff, and it's good. Obviously the way it got there was a little bit different. But I actually really like this. This was a conversation that we had before the show came out, and I know you and I discussed this probably in a podcast. I'm pretty sure it was. Like, how are they going to jump around the whole Halbrand is Anatar? And I never thought about that. I always thought, like, it's going to be Halbrand and then he's gone. And then just for the sake of the audience, it's the same actor, but he's going to be Anatar. That's what I thought. And I was happy with that. I thought that was fine. But I actually like how Halbrand is saying, "Oh, I'm not actually Halbrand. My name is Anatar, but it is the same character changing."
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
it was definitely much better than, like, I was worried about how they were going to do this and how they were going to pull it off, and I think they did it really, really good. I think the whole reveal. I'm going to just read a little quote from that now, but the whole reveal was spectacular, and it really brought back vibes of, you mentioned it earlier, the opening episode of season 1 where we get that song, that, like, the Valinor scene, the music, the light, just the imagery. It was all spectacular. Where he kind of, so just going to set the scene again. He basically breaks the news to Celebrimbor, and Celebrimbor's like, I don't believe that at all.
Yeah,
you must be joking. And then
he jumps out the window. Basically, the storm opens the window and he's like, I'll go close that.
So
sneakily he ran
storm up. And it blows the window open. He's like, oh, and he goes and he shuts the window, turns around, Halbrand's gone. He's like, Halbrand, are you there? Are you under this chair? He's looking around, and then all the fires and the lamps blow out, and eventually even the fire in the forge, this brand new, like, very powerful forge, all that fire just goes out, extinguishes. And
so suddenly some powerful crap.
You're like, what's going on? And then Celebrimbor's like, oh, maybe he is. And then suddenly the fire comes back, and we start to hear this voice coming out of the fire.
That was cool.
And I'm just going to read the quote because I wrote it down here. He says, I have walked through the dust and the desert of faraway lands in search of an artist possessing the craft to save all Middle Earth. Again, playing up to the ego of Celebrimbor. Really, really good. Then he says, a storm is coming, Celebrimbor. I can bring you the knowledge none other possesses. I can unlock your grandest abilities. And when our work is complete, never again would the world overlook you as the mere scion of Feanor, but forevermore revere you, the Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Thought
it was class. Thought it was class. I mean, using the whole, like, title drop, the Lord of the Rings again. I mean, it can always be like, oh, did they have to?
I need to see it again.
I was just like standing and applauding when
Mic drop.
I was just like, but just the whole, because when he said the Lord of the Rings, he was in Jesus mode. Do you remember? He he was wearing these like long
Jesus.
He was wearing these like long glowing robes.
Yeah,
and they were just like, they were blowing in the wind. There was this clouds behind him, and he was just, it was like he was coming out of this heaven paradise.
I know. Yeah, no, it was class, but like
I was just like, woo!
But he was referring to Celebrimbor as the Lord of the Rings, even though he's kind of the Lord of the Rings. There's no reference to who the Lord of the Rings is. It's just the title. But yeah, I do sometimes roll my eyes when that happens. But this was pretty well done. I think there's a similar thing that happens in the next episode that we'll talk about that might not be as cool. But no, I liked it. I thought it was good, and the imagery was stunning, and I really want to see it again. I'm really looking forward to it.
Like, yeah.
I'm looking at it now, but I want to watch it.
We're looking at it on the screen, and it's pretty cool here. But so then finally, after he comes in, Celebrimbor breaks down in tears, and he bows, and Anatar is like, "Oh, do not bow to me," blah blah blah. And he's like, "I am your partner, nothing else than that." Yes. And he says, and then finally, that's when we get the name drop, and he says, "But what do I call you?" He says, Anatar.
Yeah.
And then
Anatar.
And then Celebrimbor repeats his name. He says Anatar. And then Celebrimbor says Lord of Gifts.
Yeah. No, he says Giver of Gifts.
He says Lord of Gifts.
Does he say Lord of Gifts?
I wrote it down.
Yeah, but your handwriting is terrible. I could say House of Griffin.
Oh, it does say House of Griffin. There. Anatar. Yeah. House of Griffin. No, he says, I think maybe Anatar himself says something different. Like he says a share of gifts. But Celebrimbor repeats his name. And then he says Anatar. And he looks at him, he's like, Anatar, Lord of Gifts.
Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah, because we've seen Sauron himself in the trailer saying Giver of Gifts or Sharer of Gifts or something. I was like, close. It's like,
You nearly got it. Guys, you were so close.
So close. But Anatar, that's beautiful. And for people that don't know as well, something that makes this extra special is, again, the fact that Amazon do not have the rights to anything other than the Lord of the Rings books. So
the appendices.
The appendices are included in the Return of the King. And the name Anatar isn't mentioned at all in the appendices, which is like proof again that they have gotten a case-by-case rights for the name of Anatar to use in the show, which is cool, which is what we wanted. We knew they didn't have the rights for the Silmarillion book, which is where this mostly takes place. So they could still use some of the names and places, which is what we want. Anatar.
I love the song. They like land on the N, like Anatar, and then and it's cool when you see some of the behind the scenes shots of them talking about the dialect coach as well, and saying like how they like taught them like to do those types of little vocal things, like they say, land on that letter and use it as a platform to push off and things like that as well. So they're like, so I imagine them saying, you need to land on the N, and it's like Anatar, and then push off from there. Like, Anatar.
And also, for people that don't know as well, he's supposed to look like this fair form, long blonde hair, beautiful elf. So what do you think? Do you think they nailed the look?
I think he wears a bit too much makeup.
Just from that scene, I know. And we kind of
sorry, when he first comes out and it's all just this light behind him, I was like, he looks incredible. I was like, he looks better than in the trailer or in the images. But then he came out and the lights went down. I was like, oh no, he is wearing a bit too much makeup.
A little bit. But like, you got to do something. But I still... A lot of the trailer
maybe
showed...
Maybe he's from Liverpool.
Possibly. The Liverpool Scouse girl on Night Out.
He's got the curlers still in.
I think he's just... They showed a lot of him in the trailer where he's in like armor and he just looked too much like a sneaky guy, where he's supposed to be a beautiful, fair and like lovely elf.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. We're nearly there, guys. We get to the scene with Gil-galad and he's chatting to Galadriel and he tells her that she has got new orders to depart for Eregion the following morning with a small covert undercover group. He's like, take 5. You're going to take 5 of our best warriors and you're going to go. And she's like, oh, deadly nice one. And she kind of goes, what made you change your mind? He goes, you don't have me to thank, you have Elrond. So Elrond just shows up and he's like, I had a word. And then she says, oh, Elrond, I'm so glad you decided to join our part, or join my party, she said. And then Gil-galad's like, oh, no, you misunderstand. Elrond will be leading. And Elrond he doesn't say that, he just walks in all smug and he's got this he's got these cool threads on, he's got this really cool outfit.
He looks cool, he just like plants his hands on the table. He's like,
it's kind of military,
it's lovely,
but elven.
Yeah,
beautiful.
His costume is class.
It's like military from Zara.
Yes. And finally, as well, Gil-galad has a costume change.
I know.
Scene.
Yeah.
I know it's the similar. He's got that X.
Same thing.
He obviously works for Twitter or X or Elon Musk.
And one of the X-Men, because that's what they used to do. And he had that little circle in the middle.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Actually, look at that circle now, that symbol that he wears on his chest. I think that comes up with the sand symbols at the start. In the opening credits,
and that's the sigil that he stamps. That he stamps on.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Very good.
Very good. And then the very final scene. Oh, sorry. And then of course, Galadriel. She was making great progress, but then as soon as she hears she's not the leader, you can see in her face she's like, "Damn."
She does that little.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know about that now. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna be taking orders from me now." And then we swing over and we see what we saw in the trailer of Durin IV receiving an invitation from Celebrimbor.
Oh, I love that, yeah. Celebrimbor. We actually broke down, if people want to know what the invitation literally translates to, you can go and check out our... where did we do that?
I don't know, Dave.
Check out, like, maybe...
We've done a lot of stuff.
I'd say about 4 episodes back, we translated it right there and then. So, yeah. It basically just says... You're invited to Lord Celebrimbor's house.
Yeah. So that was it. That was episode 2. What do you guys think? What do you guys feel? How did it stack up compared to episode 1? Mm-hmm. Dave, very quick. What are your top moments? Best moment, worst moment? Want to hear them.
Best moment. I would either say, I want to say Anatar's introduction, even though we got a lot of that in the trailer, and I still feel like some people are complaining. I still haven't really seen much on Twitter, so I don't really know what the reaction is, but I felt like there was enough that they kept for the show and not just showing it all in the trailer. So I really liked that. I thought, the music was brilliant. I felt tense. I felt like this is probably one of the best canon moments that we've gotten so far. Obviously, it's not like he shapeshifts from Halbrand to Anatar or whatever, but just him arriving to Celebrimbor was so cool. But I also would like to say, special mention, one of the parts that made me the happiest in this was seeing Celebrimbor whip out the first age bottle of wine.
Oh, that was so class.
I was like, that is class. And it's such a cool, that's a cool addition.
It just made us so happy.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it's so great.
Like, could you imagine me like, here's a whiskey from the first age? You're like, that is class. What about you?
I'd have to say I couldn't not give it to the moment of the Anatar reveal. I just felt the power and just like
it's going to be one of the moments of the show, I think.
I felt that's what like saying just I said it just a moment ago, but it brought me back to that feeling of when you see that like they're going into Valinor and the Valinor music comes in and it's got that like those deep bass tones as well. And it just blows you away. You feel it in the center of your chest. Mm-hmm. And then also I said after he'd had that speech where his voice is coming out of the fire from the forge.
Yeah.
It all just blended so well. And I thought it was really, really well done. That, I'm going to give an honorable mention though. Disa. Disa. Singing, just Disa for the whole...
just Disa.
She was class. Her singing was amazing. Her confrontation with King Durin.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And just... her relationship with Durin the Ford as well, when they were at the very beginning of the episode, when she was just in the marketplace, I just think she's, I don't know, standout character.
They're very strong characters, the dwarves. They really have them nailed down. Like the elves are slacking a little bit.
They are, yeah.
So
up their game.
Up the game. What about worst moments?
Well, what do you think? Do you have one?
I do. And it's actually something we haven't mentioned.
Oh!
So, do you remember when Halbrand jumps out the window and...
He didn't jump out the window.
I know, yeah.
I was like, you do know.
You do know.
When you said the first time, I was like, that was a good
they're
joke.
French.
That was a good joke. Oh, they're French.
No. Like, okay, so when Halbrand like disappears, Celebrimbor goes to... And then like the lights go out. What else happens?
Wait. Oh, he knocks over the wine.
He knocks the first stage wine. I was like,
no.
Oh my God. I gasped at that moment.
I know, and he didn't even react. I was like, how many of those bottles does he have lying around the place? He's like,
oh my God, that first aid wine.
I felt so bad.
I know, so, no, that's kind of an on the nose thing, but like, it shook me to my core.
Yeah, that's a very good one. No, my one would just be Círdan shaving. So those are two very trivial negatives about this episode.
As two Irish bearded men, we don't like the spilled drink and we don't like the shaving. So, apart from that, you nailed it. 9.9 out of 10.
You know what? I think that's a very, very good start. In episode 1, I could have picked about 5 things that I was like, which was worse? All these things were bad. And in this one, I was kind of more struggling to find a worse moment. So, it just shows you how strong this episode was compared to episode 1. And I was like, there's definitely a reason when they came out, like even for the people that went to the premiere, there's definitely a reason they show 2 episodes because they're like,
oh yeah.
They're like, we want to leave them with a good feeling. And if they just showed them 1 episode, they were like, we know this is not our strongest episode, but we need to just get it out there so that we can kind of, like I said, put Poppy in her place so that people are like, by episode 2 or the end of episode 2, they're like, okay, she's there now. Of course, yeah. Why wouldn't she be? You know, they kind of almost forgotten that.
I don't know. Like, I feel like they fully back their own work as well at the same time.
True.
But then again, I know what you mean because sometimes we do an episode and we're like, that was a really shit podcast. Let's just do another one and just throw them out 2. We're dropping 2 this week. Nah, I'm only joking. All of our episodes are gold dust. Except this one. So go back and listen to all the other ones.
We'll just cut out this whole episode. Cut that. Yeah, so my main takeaway would be that this episode kind of, I was a bit disheartened after episode 1 and I was a bit worried that we were going, I was like, oh no, what's happening here now? I don't want this to be like tanking. This episode restored my faith.
Good.
Which is the highest praise I can give it.
Yeah, true.
How about yourself?
No, yeah, I do think it was a massive upgrade from episode 1 because episode 1 was just a little bit all over the place and had a couple of weird decisions. But yeah, I think it's getting better, and hopefully we'll see how episode 3 goes and the rest. And guys, also let us know what your favourite moment and your least favourite moment from the episode was. And you can comment down on Spotify if you're listening there, or on YouTube, which I hope you're watching because you can see our faces now. I don't know why that's a plus, but
I'd say most people would just turn it on and be like, oh God, I'm going to go back to the audio-only podcast.
No, but we've finally gotten over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we weren't even trying over that platform. No, but so thank you so much, guys, for getting us over the mark. Yeah, that's great. We absolutely love you guys so much, and we love responding to the comments, even if it takes like a day or two.
We will toast a first age wine to you all.
Yes, and not spill it. So cheers.
Yes. So that's it for this week, guys. Well, this episode, I suppose. We'll be back very soon with our next episode 3 breakdown. So stay tuned for that. And until then, we love you all.
Goodbye.